Having beers with bowlers, Mike J. Laneside with Jason Belmonte. Is it true what they say about Foster's and the big cans? This is beer.
Yeah, look, you know what? Foster's are probably one of the smartest marketing people in the world. They have the whole world believing that Australians drink Foster's, and yet you can't buy it in Australia. It's like, at no pub that I ever go to do I buy a made of Foster's. You can't get it. You can go to some specialty stores. It's the only place you can buy a Foster's. So, little trivia there. You can't actually, no Australian drinks it.
I get to see you mostly with game face on, so it's always, you're about your business, you're serious, you're in competition, you have a schedule of things to do, so to actually sit down and have a conversation is something that's a nice opportunity. You've been with us now 5 years. Does it seem that long?
It does. When you leave your family for any period of time, the time seems to drag out a lot longer. So 5 years does feel to me a whole lot longer. But when you do look back at some photos or some videos from that first few shows that I made, it does look like I was way younger, less wrinkles around the eyes. It's a little bit more relaxed back then. I'm a little bit more uptight these days.
And in that time, you've gotten a lot of things on your plate to manage, including Hugo and Aria, and you've got a building family. What's it like being a dad?
It's the best thing that I've ever done in my life. It's really hard to kind of explain fatherhood to people that don't have children, and I don't like to ever compare anything, but I always say it's like looking at a roller coaster, if you like roller coasters. You can say to someone, it's the fastest, most fun roller coaster in the world, but until they actually get to sit in a seat and go down it for themselves, they'll never really understand. So the kids are my roller coaster, except I'm a lot more tired playing with them than I ever am going down roller coasters.
Back before you joined us on the PBA tour, did you put yourself even to ever think that, honestly, you're the hottest player in the world right now, and I'd find it hard to argue with anybody that you're not the best bowler on the planet right now. How did you envision yourself getting there? Because you're there now.
That's a really good question, Mike, because to be the best in the world at anything, it seems like a long, long way away from when you first started. And for me, bowling has always been it's been a part of my DNA. It's like I love it. So to be the best in the world wasn't necessarily the thing that drove me to bowl. It wasn't the guiding force to start it all off. I just loved it. And I realized I was getting pretty good at it. So then I realized through all of that, with my competitive nature, I just don't like to lose, ever, at anything that I do. So I think once I started to compete on a much larger scale, bigger tournaments, then I started to kind of really want to win those. And then I've taken my career in baby steps all the way through. So once I got to the PBA, there was always a goal of mine. All right, you're going to be the best out here. I don't know when that's going to happen, but you're going to want it and you're going to work hard for it, and one day it's going to come. And I'm just I was very shocked that it happened as quickly as it did, to be honest. 5 years against these guys, I've learned more in those 5 years than my whole bowling career put together.
You spend a lot of time on airplanes, going to and from home. What do you read or what do you listen to when you have all that time on your hands?
Well, I pretty much know the Qantas in-flight magazine from page 1 to page 212, solid. I also know Sky More as well, that you have here in the States. I know that magazine back to front. But if I'm bringing my own literature, I would probably say my favorite author is an Australian author called Matthew Riley. He writes a lot of Indiana Jones type adventure things and a few sci-fi things. So he's certainly really and a lot of action. So that keeps me going. And I can pretty much watch any movie ever made. And no matter how bad it is, I'll find a way to make it worth watching. Whether it be, I just saw the worst movie of my life and describe it. And I think for music, I'm pretty much anything but country. I'm not a big twang sounding kind of a lover. So anything else I'm pretty good with.
Some of the chatter I see here, there, and everywhere is that the two-handed style is more stressful on the body than the normal bowling style. And my thought has always been that you have such fluidity in your motion that it doesn't affect you. How is your physical well-being as you're getting a little bit older?
Yeah, well, since the 2 kids, I'm probably a little rounder in the belly than I would like. You know, and every time I go home, my grandparents, you know, they don't see me for a few months, so they make sure I eat a ridiculous amount of pasta. So apart from that, but in terms of pains or sores or cracks or whatever, you know, I feel very comfortable. I feel like I do look after myself as best as possible. You know, when I'm traveling and when I'm home, I play a lot of sport, but you know, I think bowling is a sport of repetition. It's a sport that we do play for a very long period of time. So our bodies will wear and tear no matter what style you have. I mean, you can talk to any of the guys of any era, and at some point in their career, shoulders, wrists, elbows, knees, they all went at some point. And you know, even Amuleto, one of the greatest physical specimens of a human being. You can touch him and it's like concrete, and he still complains and has had injuries throughout his career. So, you know, when people say that the two-handed style is nothing but riddled with pain and you're going to be in a wheelchair by 35, well, I'm 30, so I've got 5 good years left of me before that does happen, if it does. But, you know, I think as long as you look after yourself, who's to say you can't prolong your career for no matter what your style is? But you're right, I know I've talked a lot on this question, so I apologize. I've talked so much, I need a drink.
We'll have a sip.
But I will say you're right. One of the things I've worked hard on is being less violent in my action, because I do want to be competitive for a longer period of time. So I have smoothened out a few of the edges, made it a little bit easier to repeat, and hopefully that will also help with my longevity.
Hey.
That's it. I'm not talking about that anymore.
All right. Well, a man with a lot on his plate, on and off the lanes. It's nice to get you out of game face for just a moment. Jason Belmonte,
Thanks, Mike.
thanks for joining me
No worries,
on
mate.
Beers with Bowlers. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.